Is that on? Was that on the record?
No, it's not.
Okay, so we're rolling right now.
We are rolling.
I can just hold it.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Well, that was for the bloopers, for the edits. Now you know. Starting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you are here. So this is interview number 2 for us here on the channel. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm very excited to have Kaita from the Listening Movement. So I have met, and actually, so my daughter Zoe that edits this, she's the reason that I found you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I moved here, so I love tacos. I'm gonna make a small loop. Part of the reason I moved back to Texas is because I miss tacos. And so when we moved here, the weekend when I moved here, right before Thanksgiving, my sweet daughter flew from Tokyo to help me move. And I sent her out on a breakfast taco run. So she went to Queso's, right, which is on the way to the yoga studio. And then she and my sister Sarah, who was with her, wanted to get some coffee. And the next closest coffee place,
Flora,
was there. And so at the Retreat Yoga Center they have a coffee, in-house little coffee bar. And so that's where they got coffee. And Zoe saw the little swing and everything, and she said, "Mom, this looks like a cool studio. You should check it out." And so maybe I eventually would have gotten there, but I went there directly because of that. And I took several classes, but by far my favorite class was yours. Seriously. And so I've been either practicing or teaching yoga for 28 years. Probably about as old as you are.
You flatter me so.
But really.
Yes, I am 28.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I've taken a lot of classes. Never heard of a class on fascia, never taken a class on fascia. The first class that I took, I was absolutely hooked. I was hooked because I felt better, and I was hooked because I loved you. You have a very warm, calm, steady energy. You have a vulnerable and sense of humor type of presence. And so I loved your sense of humor, loved your vulnerability, loved your in the moment. You were just clearly in the moment. It's kind of like what we were talking about right before we started. And so I know this is a long introduction, but I adore Kaita. So if you've seen our Costa Rica, any of our videos or vlogs that Zoe put out and did a great job on. Yeah. It was Kaita's retreat that I just got back from, and that was beautiful too. So excited that you're here. We're talking a little bit about fascia today. Just we're dipping our shoulder. Let's say dipping our toe, but we're dipping our shoulder in the water.
Shoulder.
Yes. And we're going to talk a little bit about frozen shoulder, but I wanted to ask you what got, big question, so you can answer, Cliff Notes if you want, but what got you into fascia work? I know you came to it as a dancer.
Yeah. Okay, so Cliff Notes, because I could talk about this for hours, because my whole life story, you could say, is leading up to fascia in some way. But coming through the movement world, learning about dance, pursuing dance professionally, and then looking for all the different modalities that can support your body and also support your career. And so I started with some yoga, some Pilates, and then a studio owner where I was working told me that I needed to try this fascia thing. He said it would change my life, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I went and took a class. And then a friend of mine was really into it, and she stretched me. We were dancing in the same group. And I actually didn't feel much at first. I felt like nice and good, and I didn't totally understand what was happening. But later, I felt a huge difference. It was like more ease, more openness, certain like hip flexor pain. Like, I don't know if you ever picture dancers were standing at the bar doing this a lot.
Yeah.
I went to ballet class, and I was like, something's missing. And it was that I wasn't pounding my hip. And I had gotten a stretch 1 or 2 days before. And so I'm like, this is really interesting. So that kind of started me off on that track. And there was a lot of other things in the the world that kind of pushed me into getting more serious about fascia. And in addition to that, I'm half Chinese. And one of the practitioners that I worked with had used the Chinese medicine system as a map for understanding fascia. And so when those two things came together and I realized that I could use this as a way to learn more about my own heritage and also like the medicine of my lineage, that was like really exciting to me. So that's how I ended up finding fascia. And then I don't know, it's just continued to shift and blossom in different ways, but I think that it sounds too good to be true. But when I started learning about fascia, I realized how much it really affects everything about your body and your being. It's like the glue in the soup that holds everything together. And when you can learn how to take care of your fascia, you can have better mobility, you can have more stability, you can have better energy flow. It's just like, for me, it's been a really awesome paradigm to just look at and experience the holistic body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Yeah.
I tried Cliff Notes. It was
No, that's right. That was no, I thought that was a great answer. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. So we are going to this morning. We're just going to give you a little nutshell. And when we talked about doing this interview, before, I realized I wasn't speaking into the mic. We kind of collaborated on what might the audience resonate with, and immediately Kaita said, well, what about frozen shoulder? And my mom is dealing with a frozen shoulder. She's 84 and has really made it a long time before that actually started affecting her, but I thought, oh, absolutely. I've heard probably half a dozen people say they don't know what to do with their shoulder, and I know older women, most women, don't like doing weights. And so they haven't done a lot. They haven't moved their upper body a lot. So it makes sense. Fascia, to me, might be stuck. And that's something they would need help with. And it was something that we could kind of do a little medium length format on. So we are going to dive into some simple few exercises for improving your shoulder mobility with fascia work. So here we go.
All right. So first of all, I wanted to give some context about frozen shoulder.
Sure.
Because I think it's having a moment. As women are learning more about perimenopause and menopause, we're finally looking at issues that come up with that and wanting to find solutions. It's about time. But one thing that is actually directly linked to menopause is frozen shoulder. Yeah. And one of the theories is that it's when the estrogen levels are dipping that the estrogen is produced in your tissues, or like the receptors are in your tissues. And so it will lead to some more more tension and inflammation. And for some reason that can show up in the shoulders. I don't really know the origins of that.
Yeah.
But essentially the description of frozen shoulder is inflammation in the shoulder capsule. And then as that inflammation is occurring, the capsule and the tissue around it will stiffen. And you end up not wanting to move your arm and then not being able to move your arm. So things like taking off your shirt gets really uncomfortable. Doing physical therapy is maybe good, but not fun. Sometimes HRT can be useful, but anyway,
What is HRT?
Hormone replacement
Oh,
therapy.
gotcha. Right.
Yeah, but that's not my scope. But I just wanted to give a little context that it's a combination of hormonal and physical changes that are happening. So what we can look at when we're looking at the fascia is the physical support that we can provide. And one thing that happens with inflammation is that it can really hurt to move. And so we may start to create compensations. When we have those compensations, then if there's already a little imbalance or already something a little bit off, that can just continue in that direction. So the first thing you want to remember with frozen shoulder is that motion is lotion, but you want to be really thoughtful with yourself about what feels right. So one thing that they recommend a lot in the beginning, especially if it feels really inflamed, is just letting your shoulder hang and just doing little circles. So this kind of movement will help thin out this little sac of fluid in the shoulder known as the synovial fluid. It'll just help to it'll feel like you're actually oiling up your joint, like a Tin Man or something like that. So we want to lubricate everything. So just kind of letting it hang and dangle. If you do nothing else, that would be a little bit of movement that could be extremely helpful. Now, the fascia itself, the connective tissue, also becomes kind of sticky. It can have adhesions, it can get dehydrated. So here's the technique that I want you to learn. When you're working with the fascia, you want to engage the area that you are stretching. So we say engage plus elongate. Around the shoulder, we'll try two things and see how they feel. But it's really important for you to know that if it doesn't feel right, you don't need to push it. We want to feel strong while we're doing this. So if you put your arm here and it doesn't feel good because the shoulder is inhibiting you, start where you can, and we'll be able to slowly work our way up. So for the first one, we're just going to do a little test and a little warm up for the shoulder. Take your arm out to the level that feels good for now. Maybe a little, it might not feel perfect, but you can hold it there. And then your other hand is your helper hand. So you're going to put it on top of your wrist. And if you need to bend your elbow or get comfy anywhere in there, you can do that. So this bottom arm, the one that we're working, we're going to engage around that shoulder by pushing the arm up. And then with your helper hand, you will push the arm down. So my bottom arm is pushing up while I'm stretching the top of my shoulder. And then for a frozen shoulder, I want you to keep that resistance in both directions. So my shoulder's already getting really warm. How about yours?
Both shoulders.
Both shoulders. Yeah. So the muscles are already working. And when we add this resistance as we are stretching, we're also stretching and rehydrating the fascia, the connective tissue. So you can play around a little bit with this. Like I'm noticing my shoulders wanting to slide forward a little. So I'm just going to plug it back a tiny bit so it feels like it's sitting more in the shoulder socket. We want to find that alignment. And as we repeat this just a couple more times, you can test for yourself if it's starting to feel a little safer to bring your arm a little higher. Now, if you're dealing with a frozen shoulder right now, again, there's no pressure to make it higher too soon, but give yourself the opportunity to feel if you are able to go a little further than you thought each time. Okay, I'm almost totally fatigued, so let's just do one more here. And then take a break. See how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but you may feel more blood flow now, more energy flow, more awareness, and also we've engaged the muscle. We've created, so the fascia rehydrates through movement. There's that compression ability with the stretch tension, and that's what can push the fluid back into the tissue and move it from getting stuck. So that's one thing, and you could go as far as way up and down. You can work your way up to that, but start where it feels stable and strong, and then just titrate it into the range. If you do a little bit of this every day, it should help you get to a stronger place.
That was one thing I was going to ask. Is it safe to do every day?
Is it safe to do every day? So again, there's different phases of frozen shoulder, and there is one phase, I think it's kind of in the middle, where it may be the acute inflammation time. So you'll feel it starting to come on a little bit. At that time, I would work on doing the stretch every day and see if it helps. But if it still goes into this acute inflammation, rest it and stir it in that acute phase. And when that starts to calm down a little bit, then you could go back into the stretch. So you do have to use your own judgment and your own instincts as you're working with this. A little bit of a discomfort and pushing through, I like to test out because I do think that movement is better than not movement. But if you're just pushing through because you learned that that's the best way to do things and you're not really feeling your body or asking if it's supporting you, then I would I would just kind of back off a little until it's feeling better or like calming down.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we're kind of diving into the other subject of somatic, of being
Yeah.
aware of your body,
Yes.
which is a whole other show.
That's a whole, I'm going to ask her to bring me back
That's
so we
another
can
show.
do a
Yeah.
whole thing about that.
Of
Yeah.
body awareness.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not something we were taught.
No, it's not. And so it can be really, it can
Mhm.
be really disorienting to start out,
Mhm.
even just like knowing where to start and even having an idea of what it's supposed to, like what body awareness is supposed to be.
Mhm.
Even that can be confusing and overwhelming.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should definitely
Yeah.
do a little more.
Interview too
I'm
later.
hiring
Yeah.
myself again. Okay. So the other one to play with is more for the rotation of the shoulder joint. And we've done these together a little bit actually. So you can use your leg or you can use like a pillow or a ledge, anything to just anchor your elbow. So for me, yeah, great. I'm going to put my elbow to the inside of my knee somewhere so that I'm getting the back of the arm to engage a little bit. And again, you want to find that strong zone where it feels okay in your shoulders. So if you need to, you could take your arm in or you could lower it down or lift it up. You could use a wall. Just find the angle that feels good to start. Now your hand is pushing back, so you're rotating that shoulder. And then your free hand again comes to the back of your wrist. So coming around to the other side. And that way you have something to push against. Now we can feel strong in the shoulder. And your helper hand cranks that arm down. Again, if you're dealing with frozen shoulder right now, I'm just going to model a slightly smaller range to start. Gemma's doing a little bigger range right now, which is great. It's nice to see both versions. So she's going almost all the way down. I'm stopping a little sooner because I'm being really cautious about what feels supportive. Each time you take it down, you might see, can you keep the resistance as you go a little further? If the answer is no, come back up. If the answer is yes, try it out. Let's go one or two more times just to see how it feels. You may feel this moving up into your neck or along your shoulder blade. One more time. Ooh, and then relax. Good. And see how that feels. Whoa.
That's what I like about your class, also about how you talked about how the fascia is connected through the whole body when you mentioned the neck, that this could affect other things other than the shoulder or could improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes the symptom is not the root of the issue. So just starting somewhere, it may give you more information. Like I was definitely feeling it in my neck and I'm like, oh, my neck sometimes hurts, but maybe it's because my shoulder is so tight, or maybe my shoulder is tight because my wrist has iPhone wrist now. Or, you don't have to know the why, but if you can expand your awareness just to like be open to finding other clues, then you may discover something else. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are two I would start with.
Yay.
We can
This
do more
is
later if they
helpful.
like it. but-
Yeah. And it was 3 because you have the
Oh
stirring
yeah,
too.
stir, press, crank.
Stir, press,
Like
crank.
a little coffee in the morning or
Exactly.
something.
I like it.
Should be crank, press, stir.
Yeah.
But for coffee.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Marketing tips later. So
Yes. We're coming out with a coffee line.
that's right. I don't know. Why not?
Maybe.
In Costa Rica, so we could.
Oh,
so.
perfect. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
quality.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope you guys found this helpful. Feel free to share it with someone, certainly that you know that they might get something out of it. And please follow Kaita at the Listening Movement. We will put a link below. So she has got an entire website, a whole virtual library. There's all kind of, oh my God, if this is interesting to you, as it has been for me, then check her site out because it is very affordable. You can be watching her live at least once a month.
At least once a month.
And then her library of videos is very helpful and educational. So yeah, you'll get something from it. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching.
Woohoo! Thank you. Was it okay? I feel like I get a little rambly sometimes.
No.